and welcome to the Un-American Football Show. Back at it again with me are Ross and Allan. How are we, chaps? You're muted. You're muted.
It's a good start.
That's a good start.
Yeah, I'm good. The sun's out, shorts on, living the dream.
Sun's out, guns out kind of weather, I suppose. But probably not what you expect for late October.
No.
But I'll take it.
No, it looks lovely out there, and I'm delighted to be inside. Right, let's get into the business. Week 6 was an absolute shit show for all of us. So let's just quickly run through how poorly we did. So we all got the Buccaneers, so that's fine. That's 1 point, and that's where things went wrong. Allan and I chose the Chargers, with Ross being the only point scorer, taking the Ravens. Although he had a 3-point game, not a 28-point game.
Surprising.
Ross and I chose the Cardinals, with Allan taking the Browns. Again, nobody had the margin being anyway like what it was in the end. Then obviously Ross and I both took the Steelers, with Allan taking the Seahawks. So that's more points for me and Ross. And then we all chose the Bills by comfortable scorelines. So yeah, it wasn't a good week. No one got points for choosing the correct margin. Allan only got 1 point for choosing the Bucks. I got the bonus point for choosing the closest fantasy scorer out of the selected games. The winner of that title was, unsurprisingly, 3-touchdown boy Derrick Henry. He was the closest out of the games we selected. CeeDee Lamb was a top fantasy point scorer this week. And Josh Allen beat out Antonio Brown to come in second, so I get the bonus point there. And from the charity points last week offered up by Ross, I actually nailed the Dallas scoreline. I said they'd score 35, and they did. So I get a bonus point for that. Thank you, Ross. So I got 5 points this week. Ross got 4 points, and Allan came in like Mike Williams with 1 point.
Best in the nation.
Yeah. It's a pretty good time to drop that one in.
He screwed me for being useless.
Yes,
if he
caught
actually
the ball
picked off the ball that landed literally in the visor of his helmet.
Is it a pick if it just lands in the visor and sticks with him? If it gets jammed in the visor,
can't be.
Is it a pick?
Doesn't make a football move.
No, depends when the ball drops to the ground.
But then a football move is him going, ugh, grabbing it, and then he's got it in his hands, right?
But he's not in control of it.
That's
the visor's got the ball.
That's a pick.
It's not hit the floor. It's not hit the floor though. Like if he jams in and then he grabs it out.
If he pulls it out.
Yeah. What if it knocks the helmet off with the ball still in the visor, and the ball still doesn't touch the ground?
Oh,
pick it up.
If the ball doesn't touch the ground, then yeah.
I think it's still a pick, because it's like if it hits off your boot or something, like your cleats, and then bounces up and you pick it.
This is
I need
a
to see this
stupid
now.
Conversation.
It's necessary though. The most ridiculous thing out of all these picks, and how bad mine were, the one that was closest to actually coming true was the Seahawks, who were out without their lead running back and without Russell Wilson. And you guys were like, "You are mad." And it was none of the other ones you said that I was a complete lunatic on. So maybe I should have been more of a loose cannon.
No. But
so this week
we can see.
I'm loose.
We expecting the Browns to put up more of a fight against the Cardinals, and maybe even sneak it, isn't unreasonable. And again,
I think we were caught out by
the Chargers. We expected to win. I think even Ross expected the Chargers to win, but flip-flopped to the Ravens because we both won Chargers. So.
Oh yeah, it was a flip of the coin, that game, as it was anyway. I wanted to back Lamar Jackson there, but I think we were just caught out by, for once, I think for the first time this year, there was so many blowouts. I think throughout the first 5 weeks of the season, there was lots of very close games, and I think we've catered to that in our predictions each week. This week was the first week where there's like a little bit of separation between some of the really, really good teams, maybe Super Bowl contenders, and some of the teams that still have ways to go.
Well, even the contenders and pretenders, there was the marked difference in some of those games, wasn't there?
Yeah.
Right, Ryan.
Yeah. Right. So anyway, so that's last week. So let's pay some lip service to this week's action. So first up, Thursday night football. We've got the Broncos visiting Cleveland Friday at 1:20 a.m. I've gone for the Broncos. I think this is a bad this is a bad football team so far this year, playing a good football team that have beat the hell up. It all rides on whether Baker Mayfield plays. I think if Mayfield plays, I think the Browns will actually probably squeak it. I just think he's got to give that shoulder a rest, because otherwise he's going to go out for the rest of the season in a couple of weeks. He's got to get healthy if the Browns are going to make it out of that division. I think they bite the bullet. They let him have a rest this week. Take a closely fought L and get him back healthy next week or the week after. So Broncos 21 points to 18.
The Browns are dead to me at the moment. I think I've backed them every time they've been on one of our chosen games of the week, and they're yet to win when I've picked them. So screw you, Browns. I'm going for the Broncos. Short week, similar sort of thing to you, Nate. It's really bad timing for the Browns. It looks like Nick Chubb will be out. Kareem Hunt's definitely out. OBJ's banged up. I thought he was back in practice, but
possibly questionable.
Let's go questionable. Let's go questionable. As is Baker. You're right. It's just there's too much going against the Browns in this game, and on the other hand, the Broncos might be getting a little bit of a boost with the potential of Jerry Jeudy coming back. So I think that helps out their offense a bit. Their defense has been fairly stout, but I'm not sure how stout it would need to be against the likes of Felton and Donovan Peoples-Jones for the Browns. So I've gone 20-10 for the Broncos. So quite a commanding victory.
I don't necessarily disagree with all the things you guys have said about the issues that the Browns have come into the game. I just don't believe in picking bad football teams. I think the Denver Broncos are a bad football team. I think they're badly coached. I don't think they found an answer at quarterback. I don't think they're exciting to watch. And I just don't believe in picking them. So purely on that basis, I'm picking the Browns, even with all their injury questions at the moment. It's going to be a big Donovan Peoples-Jones night. I think he's going to go over 100 yards, a couple of TDs, just like he did in this past week. I still see the Browns finding a way to keep themselves relevant. So I've got the Browns going 21, and the Broncos 17. So still a close game, but I just think the Browns overcome somehow.
Yeah, it's. I get you. It's difficult to pick a bad football team. The fraudulent Broncos have just lost to the fraudulent Raiders in the Mile High Cream Pie, haven't they? So yeah, it's not good. But there we are. I'm going all out. I'm going wild card. Why not? Ross, next up.
Yep, next up on the Sunday 6 p.m. slot, we've chosen the Kansas City Chiefs and the Tennessee Titans game to pick. Probably the best game of the bunch in that time slot. Really big game for both teams. I don't know if anybody thought that this game would be this important this early in the season. I think we probably thought they would be coming in with more wins and less losses than both teams are. But for the Chiefs, if they lose, that's 3 or 4, and it's now looking really, really tricky. Tennessee Titans, they would go to 4-3 if they lose this game. So really important, especially with the Colts coming back in the last couple of weeks, mate. So I'm going with the really hot hand, and that's Derrick Henry and the Tennessee Titans. Coming off that performance on Monday Night Football against the Bills, against that Chiefs defense, they're not going to be able to stop Derrick Henry. They just won't be able to stop him. I don't care what you do. I think AJ Brown, he's fine. He looked fit yesterday on Monday night. He's going to be really difficult for the Chiefs defense to stop. So I've got the Titans scoring lots of points, 34, and the Chiefs, despite their comeback in the last couple of weeks, I only see them getting 24. So Titans 34, Chiefs 24.
Going with the Chiefs, I completely get what you're saying, Russ, about the Titans being the hot hand. Had a great game against the Bills last night, but it's a shorter week. The Chiefs, I still think they have something to prove. And they've always, every game this season, bar one, they've put up at least 30 points in each of those games, and the one that they didn't was 27 points, so not far off either. So I think that it's very realistic that they're going to be in that ballpark again. The defense is dreadful, and we know that. But the Titans, their main outlet is still Derrick Henry, AJ Brown. Yeah, look good, but he's on a snap count for a number of weeks. Julio Jones went out injured. Whether he'll play, who knows? So I'm sort of banking on that the Chiefs are just going to outscore the Titans, really, and I've gone 34-26.
I think you're crazy. The Chiefs are shit.
Yeah, they're not shit, but I know what you're saying.
They are shit. They've got a misfiring offensive unit and a rubbish defense. They are shit.
Well, I don't want to convince you guys to change your mind, so I'm happy for you to say that. And when the Chiefs win by 2 scores, then I'll take the points. So that's cool.
Yeah, well, we'll see, won't we? I'm just going to say ditto to what Ross said. Derrick Henry's a better footballer than anyone on that Chiefs team, and he's gonna run the score up. I actually think it's going to be relatively close. I say they've got a misfiring offense. The offense is still obviously good, but there are questions about how efficient they've been. I think they'll secure things up a little bit, and they'll put on a better display than they have done in recent weeks. But I think their defense is still way below where it needs to be for them to come anywhere close to being a contender this year. And Derrick Henry's going to make them beg for mercy by the end of the game. And as you guys said, AJ Brown was also returning to some form after his performance last night, and I think he continues that next week. So Titans 31 points to 28. And then moving on, we took the best game of the early window on Sunday, so we've flipped it. We've taken the worst game of the late window, with the Falcons visiting the Dolphins. And I'm going for the Falcons to win 27 points to 20. It's a flip of a coin, really. They're both shit. I think Matty Ice is a bit better than Tua. He's old. He's got an experience head on him. That will win out. 27 points to 20. Fuck the Jets.
Jets aren't even playing.
Fuck them anyway.
Yeah, I mean, this is a bit of a toss-up because they are pretty dreadful, but the from the London game still haunts my dreams and nightmares. So yeah, I've gone for the Finns. I've gone for the Finns. There's nothing like a beating to the Jacksonville Jaguars, who hadn't won a game in 20, to give you a kick up the backside. And Tua was only just back last week. Did some strange stuff with bringing in Jacoby Brissett for passing plays last week when Tua was fine. I think he probably wasn't quite ready to play, but I think he probably said he wanted to play. I'm just hopeful that another week with him on the practice field, they go, right, we really need to sort out what we're doing here, guys. And we all saw what the Falcons were like against the Jets, and the Jets are bad on offense, and the Falcons let them score 20 points. So I think that at Hard Rock Stadium in Miami, they're going to be back in the Finns. I'm going for a classic sort of 3-4 point home favourites, 3-point margin, because they're both pretty even, and gone for the Finns 23-27.
Yeah, it's a really weird one actually, because it's two teams that can't get out of their own way, and that's particularly in both their London games they couldn't really get out of their own way. It cost the Finns more than the Falcons in the end, but as we said, the Falcons let the Jets back into that game when they really shouldn't have been anywhere close to them. I watched Tua on Sunday, and he actually played really, really well. He hit Mike Gesicki over the middle a lot, passed for over 300 yards, a couple TDs, was driving the ball well. and then he just has a couple of plays in every game at the moment. He's still young, where he just are inexplicable. Like he off his back foot, he tried to throw like a 20-yard comeback route to the other side of the field, and it was just nowhere near the wide receiver, and the Jaguars defensive back caught it, and it was interception. And you're like, well, why did you even attempt that throw? And I trust Matt Ryan to do that a lot less than Tua at this point. Tua just has to do that one or two times a game, as he's on pace to do at the moment, every game, and that's what's going to win the Falcons this game. So I see the Atlanta offense putting up a lot of points. I also see a couple of turnovers. So I've got Atlanta 35-20.
That's a hounding. I think on the Tua point, you're right. It's something that we've not necessarily picked up on. He's still very inexperienced. You can't really compare him to being a rookie last year because he didn't start until so late in the season, and then he's been injured this year. He's probably at this point nearly a full season behind Justin Herbert on experience. I mean, from ability, there's obviously a discrepancy as well, but his experience is almost a full season behind. He's only really about a handful of games ahead of someone like Matt Jones, and people don't necessarily remember that.
Yeah, no, and like I said, I think he played really well on Sunday for the most part. It's just those two inexplicable mistakes he can't make.
And he got in. It's not only that he didn't start the season; he got dumped for fits in games regularly, didn't he?
On occasion, yeah.
Good. Ross, next up.
Yeah, well, Fitzmagic is a special quarterback. That's fair. So we're moving on to Sunday Night Football, and it's Nate's Colts traveling all the way over to California to take on the San Francisco 49ers. Another kind of do-or-die game for these guys, kind of postseason hopes, just about. I know it's a longer season now, it's an extra game, but that only stretches so far into the season, more than usual. Again, I'm going with the hotter team, I guess, and that's the Colts. I think they've looked really good the last couple of weeks with Carson Wentz in the quarterback. He's been dialing up big plays to spreading the ball around. They didn't actually have to make that many completions in their win on Sunday against the Texans, but he's spreading the ball around, making big plays. And San Francisco just look a little bit lost, especially now Trey Lance is injured. We're not sure if it's going to be Trey Lance or Jimmy Garoppolo, I think still at this point. Regardless, I still see the Colts offense as possibly the best unit. With Jonathan Taylor running the way he is, you just need to use him a little bit more. So I have the Colts squeaking this one out on the road, 20 points to 17.
I really want to say the 49ers. Like, I really, really want to say the 49ers, but I can't do it. I'm going with the Colts, 27-20, just purely on the basis that I think the Colts have looked good the last few weeks. Jonathan Taylor's firing up, as Ross said, and there's a lot of uncertainty with the 49ers. They're missing George Kittle, who's usually a massive part of their game plan. There's a lot of confusion at quarterback, as Ross said. And players like Brandon Ayuk, who were great last year, haven't followed it up this year as of yet. So I think it's a gamble to go with the 49ers, and I've gambled enough with going Miami, so I'm going to stick with the Colts on this one, 27-20.
Yeah, surprise, I'm going for the Colts. 27 points to 16. I have never really been a big fan of 49ers. Well, no, that's not true. I don't dislike the 49ers. I just think they're rubbish at the moment. Crucially, I think for the Colts, San Francisco do not have a good run defense. They've allowed 113.2 yards on average a game over the season, and that plays into the Colts' strengths with. I'm just seeing what you've done, Alan. With Jonathan Taylor being Jonathan Taylor, he's going to run all over them. The Colts are doing more or less what they did last year with him, where it's been a little bit of a slow start. He's coming into the season a little bit earlier this year than he did last year in his rookie year, but they're definitely ramping up his production. Quiet first quarter or two, and then second half runs all over the offense, the defense in front of him. And I expect to see the same. I think the Colts will control the game. We'll see Carson Wentz hit some beautiful long passing plays with a few touchdowns thrown in. Also think the Colts' defense have stepped up massively the last couple of weeks. Okay, the second half against the Ravens was poor because the secondary was absolutely decimated. But I think it looked really good this week against, admittedly, the Texans. But if we're up against Jimmy G, which it looks like it's going to be, I have no concerns. 27 points, 16. That's that one. And then Monday Night Football, Saints and Seahawks, Tuesday 1:15 a.m. I'm going with the Saints. The Saints are a really difficult team to back, actually, because they're wildly inconsistent week on week. I think they're just going to benefit from having a really long week after their bye week. They've had a really nice long rest to get players back healthy. Anyone who's carrying knocks should be good. Plenty of time to prepare for a Seahawks team that you probably don't even need that much time to prepare for. So Saints are going to run out comfortable winners, 30 points to 17.
Yeah, I think this is a different game if Russell Wilson is fit.
Yeah, definitely.
It's a game that I'd actually look forward to watching as well. Whereas at this current moment in time, the mashup of Jameis Winston and Tate versus Geno Smith does not really get my loins going, to be perfectly honest.
Anytime Tate plays, you should be excited.
Yeah. Fearful, maybe. I'm not sure about excited. I went for the Saints as well. They are wildly inconsistent, as Nate said, and I don't particularly like what they're doing as a team at the moment this year. But I still think they're good enough to beat this Seahawks team, and I've got 27-16.
I think it depends.
And also, it pressures Ross to not want to go with Nate and myself by going last. So will he go against his hometown? Well, not hometown, but his boys in.
I can put on a southern accent if we need. But no. Depends where Taysom Hill is going to line up as to how fearful he should be as a Saints fan, actually. If he's lining up behind centre, probably not going to be good things that happen. But whenever he's lining up as a receiver or a running back, great things happen. So hopefully we'll keep it to that. But I am picking the Saints. I think hopefully having the bye week knocks us off our one good game, one bad game streak. And we had the bad week over the bye week, I guess. So that would put us back on track to have a good week this week. And I just think that the Saints defense, surprisingly, might be the best unit in this game. Although we've had one less game, so the stats are a little bit skewed, but we are the third best team in points allowed per game at the moment. And I think when we do shut down teams, we really shut the door on teams. We shut the door on the Patriots. And it's important to be able to shut the door on a bad quarterback. And I think that's what Geno Smith is at this point. So I see the Saints winning this one. Alvin Kamara is going to be an absolute stud. He's going to have a big showcase game on Monday Night Football. So I've got the Saints winning 28-7. And speaking about Chipmunk, old Alvin Kamara, he is my top fantasy point scorer of the week, or he's going to be.
There we go, there's the segue.
Yeah, I found it, don't worry. I was reaching for it, but I found it. Alvin Kamara is going to be the top fantasy point scorer this week. He's Saints' best player, and he's going to get a lot of opportunities to score points against this terrible Seahawks defense.
Yeah, I have a bad habit of going for players in primetime games, and primetime games quite often are a bit odd, especially like a Thursday night. It doesn't often live up to expectations. So I've still gone for a primetime game, but I'm going with Jonathan Taylor, just so I think he feels like a safer bet than, all the ones that I've gone for I thought would be good, but I curse people every week.
Mike Williams will have a great week this week.
He will, yeah. I'm sort of 1 week ahead of the trend, except when I've got Aaron Jones. Let's remember, I am still the only person to.
I was so close.
So
so close.
Hopefully it's JT. Yeah. Well, hopefully it's JT because I've got him in about 3 fantasy leagues. So I'm backing him and the Colts. This is why I also couldn't go against the Colts, unfortunately.
Such a bad end. I've gone with Derrick Henry against that woeful Chiefs defense. Which seems like a bit of an easy pick going for Derrick Henry. So possibly we might have to introduce a rule saying don't pick Derrick Henry just because it's too easy. But
maybe the rule should be you can't pick the top point scorer from the previous week.
that's not bad. That's not a bad idea. We'll start that from next week.
Okay.
But yeah, no, I am gonna go with Derrick Henry. Fuck it. The Chiefs' defense is fucking woeful. They're where are they? Where are they ranked in rush defense? 27th, 133.2 yards on average, and they are away from home. And away from home, they are actually allowing 150 yards almost per game. So Derrick Henry's going to have a big day, and he's going to make that statistic look worse, not better. So I expect 150 plus yards, two plus, maybe 3+ touchdowns on the day.
3 very, very good running backs.
Yeah, I mean, at this stage, you'd be hard pressed to say that there's another running back in the league that beats any of those three out for the top 3.
Yeah. On a week-to-week basis, there might be more. Like Dalvin Cook had a good week,
Yeah.
that kind of thing, but I like these 3.
I think over the season, I think these 3 will be top 3.
Yeah, I agree.
Allan doesn't look like he wants to chime in and disagree with me, because if he disagrees with any of them, it will be JT.
No, I mean, I think I've drafted my feelings about JT, so I've got a lot of belief. And pre-season, I said that if it wasn't Derrick Henry winning the rushing title, I thought it was going to be JT. So he's got to be up there, right? Because he had a monster game, and then people in front of him like Zeke had a bit of a quieter game, and I can't remember who was second. Nick Chubb's probably up there, but again, he's injured, so he's missed a week.
Saquon Barkley's still quiet, isn't he?
Yeah. Who?
But that might be more of a symptom of the fact that his team's just bad.
Yeah, you have you have Derrick Henry, Nick Chubb, Zeke Elliott, Joe Mixon, Jonathan Taylor as the top 5 at the moment. But do you want to know how many more rushing yards Derrick Henry has than Jonathan Taylor?
200.
Double.
310.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me.
And how many Jonathan Taylor?
473.
Yeah.
Not double then.
Derrick Henry's on course for 2,800 yards and 28 touchdowns this season. He managed 2,100 odd yards and 21 touchdowns last year. So, whew.
Yeah, man's special.
Yeah, when you're creating rules against him in prediction shows, it sort of says something, doesn't it?
I think for us to keep this competitive, it may have to be. I mean, maybe bring this back to being competitive. Even we've got to bring in a rule against Derrick Henry.
Although I still think when we're choosing the names, whoever's last in the standings, overall standings, if they take first dibs, if they want to go with Derrick Henry, I think they can. It's just he's not going to be number 1 every week.
No.
Far from it. I mean, he will have bad games. So when I'm last next week, I wouldn't necessarily go with
until you see who they've got next week. I think it's the Colts.
Why? Who have they got? Yeah, I'm all in on Derrick Henry.
Yeah, it is. It's the Colts at Nissan.
Yeah, I wouldn't go for it anyway.
Right, well, let's hope our predictions actually start to land. Otherwise, as an exercise, this is pretty fucking pointless, so we might as well just spin it. But
not at all.
No, it's a bit of fun. So that's all it was ever meant to be. As always, if you enjoyed the show, please drop us a comment, like, subscribe, all of that shit. You can do none of it if you want. That's absolutely fine. Please also check out our other show, which can be found all over the place, including Spotify, Apple Pods, Amazon Music, Google, Breaker, others, etc. Come and follow us on Twitter at Tough Show Official, or come and join our Discord, details of which can be found on Twitter or in the description of this video. Allan, Ross, thank you, lads. Final word from you, boys.
Who dat?
How about them Cowboys?
Thank you for watching. Until next week, goodbye. No,
I
that is
actually prefer doing these to the actual podcast. I think.
shocking. Really?
Yeah, I think so.